my home, including our bedroom, kitchen, and living room. For me, I really love plants just because I think they add a lot of value in terms of aesthetic designs and just color and texture to a room. As I'm talking, I'm looking at one of my plant my dress on my dresser, and it's some of the leaves are a little bit dry. I think due to the lack of humidity that we have in our bedroom when we sleep at night because of the heater. I think the plant has gone a little bit dry, so I have to ensure to water it. But you will see behind me, these are some of the plants that I have in my room. So we have a few orchids here, and then we have this other plant, and then we have this specific orchid. So as we'll be going over, I'll be sharing with you some of the plants that I have, including one on the other side, and then one over there, and then a few out in the living room as well. So are you guys ready to check out some of my plants? Once again, these are the 5 plants. Alright, so here is one of my mini orchids that I recently purchased about a month and a half ago from the Orchid Exposition in San Francisco. So it's very, very small compared to your regular orchids. It's a miniature orchid. And you can see here that the roots are starting to form. And I believe this moss is sphagnum moss. So the leaves are a little bit healthier, not as dry. And actually here we have the new baby leaf forming, and here we had actually 3 small flowers that were blooming, but I think because of the condition of the room and the heater, I think it had caused the flowers to dry up because it was just too hot. And then this is it, Nagorian Sederia japonica Nagorin. And I believe the flowers were yellow. So I'm really excited to see how this one goes. Here is the next miniature orchid. So this one, the leaves are a little bit more thin and longer. It's not your typical leaves. It looks more like a shrub. And it is Fumi Furon, Miophineta falcata. So if you look at this plant, it looks mostly like a shrub, but I can tell that it's healthier because the leaves are more green than before, and then there are new roots growing, as you can see in the middle, in that spot right there. There are a few roots growing. So I believe these have flowers as well. I need to do a little bit more research in terms of where these plants came from and things of that nature. And then this is the third one. And then this is the third one. So if you look here at this one root, I guess, or this one spike, it's so interesting because it's not straight, it goes in a circle and then it curves out. And then I believe these also have flowers, but what's really unique about this plant is that it looks, the spikes look very dry, almost as if it's dead, but then there are leaves on it, so. And there are new roots growing as well, and it looks pretty healthy to me, just not sure when the flowers will spike. Next orchid, I have it in the full water culture, but I don't think I'm doing it correctly, so I'm just testing it out. But it's some type of orchid. I'm not exactly sure what the species is because I was given this, but I didn't know the name for it. So as you can see here, a lot of the roots were rot, so I had to cut them away, and then now it seems like the roots are reforming itself. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing with this specific orchid, but it's very, very persistent. It's lived for some time. And then here, I believe it's the money plant. I'll find out its exact scientific name, but I'm hoping down the line in a couple of years it'll get a bit much bigger and it'll help to purify the air in our home. And then this is one of my favorite plants right now. It's a tropical orchid, I believe. And so it's grown on into a piece of wood. And so this spike, actually, it's almost as if it's fallen apart. So it's hanging on to the root by just a tiny, tiny bit. But it's still alive. And when I actually had purchased it a month ago at that orchid exposition, there were flowers already blooming on it, and now you can see how beautiful it is. I believe I did a little bit of research on this plant, and some people say that it smells like peaches, and some people said that it smells like really bad crayons once the flower opens. But I think the part in the middle here, it hasn't opened yet, so there's no scent as of now. But a couple weeks ago, the plant started looking really dry, probably due to the heater again. And so I thought this particular spike that the flowers are growing out of, I thought that it was dying because the flowers were starting to turn yellow, but it's just the process of how it blooms. First, these flower pods, they're green, and then over time, as it gets ready to bloom, it becomes yellow, and then it becomes orange, and then it starts blooming. And then if you see up here, it's really interesting how this spike is grown as well. They don't seem to grow in a straight way. The leaves like curl into itself. So, I'm not sure exactly, but it seems to be doing okay. But I have just to be careful and ensure that I water it more often if we turn on the heater. Once again, these are the 5 plants.